is Congressman Austin Scott. Congressman, great to have you on the show, sir.
Hey, John and Amanda, thanks for having us back. Appreciate what y'all do.
Well, we love having you on, sir. I just want to get your sense of the situation tonight. Obviously, it looks like with Democratic help, this bill will pass tonight. That'll be another victory for Kevin McCarthy. Some frayed nerves on the conservative side of the Republican Party. But do you see this as a win or a loss for the American people?
Well, I kind of see it as a neutral type thing right now. Let me say this on the conservative side of things. Jim Jordan is for this bill, has spoken out openly for it. Warren Davidson, another great, solid conservative members in favor of it. The Thomas Massey, who was on the Rules Committee, he's got a provision in this piece of legislation. And I hope the critics will actually give us a chance to go through the appropriations process before they believe some of the things that have been said about the bill. I, too, am concerned about the date limit and how much the debt could go up. But let me assure you, if we do our job as Republicans in the Appropriations Committee and spend less money, then the national debt won't go up as much as some have projected. And so I've heard some Republicans say, well, the bill spends $4 trillion. That's actually not true. Yeah. It sets a date that the debt limit could move to without a dollar cap, which scares me a little bit, John. That was one of the reasons I held out so long. I don't like date limits. I like dollar caps on debt limit vote. But it's going to force a provision that would actually reduce spending if we don't come to agreements on the appropriation measures. And if you think about what's happened in the last couple of years, the Senate doesn't do anything with appropriations. The House passes appropriation measures, and then you get some supersized omnibus bill like the last one, which was 4,000 pages, and nobody has a chance to read it, and it's passed in the middle of the night. And I do think that procedurally we have stopped that with this piece of legislation. And I think Kevin deserves a lot of credit for the fact that there's a 100-page bill that everybody can read in a matter of an hour and a half or 2 hours if they care to. I just wish some of the members that have been on TV saying all of the things about it that are negative would have actually read them before they spoke about them. Because what it does, it rescinds about $30 billion in money that's already been appropriated. $30 billion. In my years in Congress, this is the first piece of legislation that I've actually voted for that will become the law that I think actually cuts money. It cuts money, cuts spending that's already been appropriated. Mm-hmm. I don't remember ever voting for anything like that got signed into law. And so then going forward, if we do our job in the appropriations process, we can reduce spending as Republicans. We've got the House. We don't have to agree to continuing resolutions with the Senate. Now we've got to have Republicans in the Senate stand strong on that. And remember, it was the Republicans in the Senate that allowed the omnibus bill to pass in December that created this problem that unfortunately has created a big divide in the Republican conference now. And look at what we had done up to and until this point. We passed the immigration law. We have passed the debt limit bill that cut spending much more than this piece of legislation does. We were moving down a very, very good path until this last piece. But the choices right now are you end up with a clean debt limit, you end up with a default, or you take this piece of legislation and you push forward into the appropriations process. So this is the best of the three alternatives. I think the bill will pass. I think it'll be bipartisan. I wish 27 House Republicans had not voted with the Democrats on the rule. I think that will be a problem for our conference going forward.
Yeah, I agree.
Congressman, I want to ask you a bit of a broader question because we spoke about before the break about how Republicans maneuver going forward because there's such a slim majority, and you've got Congressman Chris Stewart, who is resigning to take care of his wife, and then George Santos. That's a whole nother issue. For Republicans, I think that you look at the Democrat caucus and they take mostly wins and then they plow through onto something else. And I understand there's such great diversity of thought on the Republican side of the aisle. And you have those 35 to 40 Republicans who are very principled and they want all of the things within this bill to be perfect. Is it a better way to move forward for the MO to be, let's take this as a win and plow on to something else so that we can get more and more notches in the win column?
Absolutely. We need to be walking forward and consistently in the right direction. Consistent changes in the right direction gets us back to where we need to be. The Democrats have made consistent changes in the wrong direction. They did it with health care. They kind of edged down the path of more and more government control over healthcare, and look where we ended up now. There's almost total government control over the healthcare system right now. They did this with spending. We didn't get to $1 trillion deficit with one or two or three pieces of legislation. It was multiple pieces of legislation in the wrong direction. This is one piece of legislation that is a small step in the right direction. And so we as Republicans, we have to be willing to take small victories if we're going to govern. The Democrats have done that for years and moved the ball in the wrong direction. We have to take small victories and move the ball in the right direction. And so that's where some of the frustration is with, the hardliners that we have, who I respect, who seem to want to get it all in one step. And so again, Amanda, I mean, the names that everybody knows, I mean, the Jim Jordans of the world, the Warren Davidsons of the world, the Thomas Massey's of the world, these are solid conservatives that are voting for this piece of legislation because they recognize we have to take steps in the right direction.
Yeah. So I want to turn to another big piece of news today. Chairman Comer had a meeting or call with Director Chris Wray at the FBI, was told that the FBI will not turn over the memo, that some lawmakers can come over and look at it privately at the FBI, but they'll not comply with the subpoena. I want to get your take on the offer that Chris Wray has made and what may be the next steps that Congress might impose on the FBI and its director.
Yeah, well, I mean, the U.S. Congress is an equal branch of government. He's part of the Justice Department, but we constitutionally have the right to see the information that Comer has requested. And the idea that the FBI director gets to determine what Congress does and doesn't get to see, that's not acceptable. And so I assume Director Wray will be given the choice to either comply. I haven't talked with Kevin about this. I mean, but I expect the Speaker has probably made it very clear to him that he will either comply with what the request is, or Congress will have a contempt vote.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sir, I want to ask you, let's broaden the perspective a little bit to China. This Chinese military jet, I think it was a J-16 that flew 400 feet in front of an American plane. China has declined a meeting between the defense leaders in both China and the U.S. What does this all say from a global perspective? Yeah,
one is it reiterates just how big the threat is with China. Two is it shows how unprofessional they are as a military. I mean, even in areas, with the Russians in Syria, we're able to coordinate where we fly and where they fly so that we don't have a mishap that leads to, quite candidly, war. And so they're being totally unprofessional. And at the same time, what do you see but corporate America's, business leaders, if you will, are rushing over to China right now to glad hand with them. China is our adversary. They're not our friend. We need to be moving as much industry as we can out of China, move it to Vietnam, move it to Malaysia, move it back to the Western Hemisphere, move it to America if you can.
All good advice, sir. So we're going to hit a commercial break. I'm so sorry.